This is Joe from ArtAlienTV. Now today I've got a bunch of things to show you, but I'm not going to spend too long on each one because you can come along, click on the Gigapan links in the description and look at these yourself and take as long as you like. So this is kind of interactive stuff as usual, and all my Gigapans are interactive. They've all got links to videos and other Gigapans and other images and that kind of thing. Okay. So it's kind of interactive, but you don't have to do that. You can just look at the images in the video. I will be putting full screen clips of these objects and things throughout the video instead of all at the end. I'll put some at the end as well, so you can get a really good look at these things up close. But sometimes if you get too close, it's hard to focus on these things. You've got to kind of sit back a little bit sometimes. Okay. Now, the first thing I'm going to show you is something that genuinely kind of scared me a bit, and I'm not joking. Now, some of you will remember, if you've been watching my recent videos, you'll remember this video I did 3 weeks ago, right? It's this one here, Dragon Ridge Exposed, right? Lord Drac. And in this video, I showed this very strange and scary looking statue with vampire-like teeth, right? And this is near the dragon that I showed a week or two previous to that, which is next to that secret entrance, which I keep going on about, but they are incredible finds. And you can see those here in this video. Mara's dragon statue guards secret entrance. So this is kind of carrying on a bit from that, okay? This is kind of a part 3. What I'm going to show you now isn't on Dragon Ridge. It's on the slope just behind it. So it's very close to those other things, right? Which are pretty scary looking, but very interesting, I think. And here it is. Now, of course, you would have already seen this probably by looking at the thumbnail image, but this is really crazy. Now, this slope here, and what we have here, is what I thought initially might be a kind of fossilized tree stump, right? Until I made a Gigapan and had a closer look and zoomed in. Now this has been brightened up a bit. This is taken by the ChemCam on the Curiosity rover, Sol 4185. Now this is completely raw and it's just been enlarged. And I'm just going to zoom in and show you what I saw when I first looked at this thing. Right, let's get in close. Now if you look carefully, you can actually see that this is not a fossilized tree stump. And I'll show you with the magnifier. I'll go back a little bit. You can actually see here there's a chin, there's teeth, there's a nose, there's an eye there, and there's kind of a spiky kind of headdress, or what I would call a crown, on its head, right? Now this looks like it's carved from stone, but initially it did look like a sort of tree trunk, because it's got this bit here. Now this is probably buried. I may go right down into this slope here, which is all kind of buried in sand and rubble, okay? And that's raw. Now, these are really dark, these ChemCam images. You have to brighten them up to see what's going on. So I did that. Here's the actual, one of the single raw images. This is made up of 2 together. This is the single one, which is in fact a little bit clearer, I think. You can actually see the mouth there, right? See the mouth here, the nose, and the bridge of the nose going up, and a dark eye socket there, but not much detail. It's really hard with these to actually get much detail out of them when they're this dark, so you have to brighten them really carefully and push the contrast just a little bit. And this is what I got, and Christ. And then I realised that obviously this is near Dragon Ridge, it's just behind Dragon Ridge, so it's probably related to that Lord Drac statue that I showed in that part 2 video, right? And I thought, that's one hell of an evil looking statue, Lord Drac. But we don't see it from the front, we see it kind of from the side, but you can see the teeth on it. The teeth are like really scary. Here is a brightened and colorized version. Let's go back a little bit. If you get too close, it's hard to focus, like I said. Shark-like teeth, and a long, straight, narrow nose that comes right down to here. And we have eye detail here. Not a lot of detail, but enough to determine that this is not just a random rock or a fossilized tree stump like I thought it might be. Right? Here's the actual wall clip there. And I haven't added any detail. All I've done is brighten it and added a color filter, okay, which it says here. That's raw. This is color filtered. Sometimes a color filter just helps you lift the image up a bit and helps you see in the shadows a little better, okay? So we got this kind of spiky crown-like thing on top. Got an eye here. We've got the nose here. Got a narrow, long nose. Quite a large chin and mouth with spiky, kind of shark-like teeth. Okay. If I zoom in, you can actually see here. I haven't added these teeth. They are there. You can actually see them in the raw image if you look with the magnifier. They are definitely there. Okay. Pretty crazy stuff. But I did predict in that part 2 video, Lord Drac video, Dragon Ridge, Lord Drac video, I did say it towards the end of the video. I did say that I expect I'll probably find some more similar, scary looking and weird architectural art like we have here. You don't get stuff like this in the middle of nowhere. Statues are generally put between, in front of, and on important buildings, okay? So this is further confirmation of what I've been saying for years about this particular area, which I call the Royal Mile. It's further confirmation that I was probably correct, and that if I can predict that there would be more coming up similar, and then those predictions come true a week or 2 later, then it means I'm probably correct about my theories on this particular part of Mars in Gale Crater. Okay? As in the buried city and Dragon Ridge and the lake bed with the boat wrecks and ruined buildings, buried structures and objects all over the place, okay? This is just part of that whole picture. If you get too close to them, it's hard to see, really. It's best to go back a bit like this. And you can actually see the detail here a bit better, okay? You can see these teeth. Even in the raw image, this is completely raw. This one here on the side, you can see those teeth there. Jagged teeth detail, right? So I've not added any detail. I've just enhanced very carefully what detail is there. And you can just about make out an eye in there as well. It looks like there's a sort of brighter part there and a bit of a shadow. Not a lot of detail to be seen there. This is taken from like half a mile away and zoomed in because this is behind Dragon Ridge. Now, the rover got fairly close to Dragon Ridge, like a couple of 100 yards probably, but it zooms right in with this camera particularly. It zooms right in. And when it does zoom in close like this, you can get some amazing detail that we don't normally see. Because it rarely drives right up to these things. This is quite far back up the slope. And it's much further away than Dragon Ridge. So the camera zoomed in a long way. Okay, there it is. And I've got another one here. This is the black and white one with the colour one on this side. I always do lots of different clips of these things and then pick the best one to go on the cover. Okay, which will probably be this one. So like I said, if you get too close, it's hard to see. But if you move back a bit, you can really see the detail. Right? Absolutely insane. And you can see all that in the raw image. You can see the teeth, you can see the nose, chin, everything. It's somewhere between 2 and 4 feet. So I'm guessing around 3, maybe 3.5, I don't know. And from a distance, you think, oh yeah, there's a tree stump. But then you zoom in, it's like, oh my God, what have I found? Another one, right? So I called it the Dragon King. We've had the Dragon Lord, which is Lord Drac. We've had the dragon, and other dragons that I've shown. And then we have this. He seems to be wearing a crown, so I called him the Dragon King. So who knows? But it's probably a depiction of someone that actually ruled over this part of Mars and was probably superior to that other one I showed, Lord Drac. because it's a bigger statue and it's further up and has a more commanding view of the area, I would say. It looks down from this slope, and there was probably a structure here of some sort around it. You've got a sort of formation here, which looks like the outline of a building, perhaps. Who knows? So on the lighter note, I'm going to show you some other things that I've been uploading to my Gigapans site as well. You can check these out, all these out, by following the links in the description as usual. So that was the Dragon King. Now we're going to go to Sol 1751. This is an old thing I found years ago, and I never sort of published it for some reason, never got round to it. I've been going through loads and loads of stuff in my archives, which are vast, right? And I've been tidying up the folders and pictures and deleting duplicate stuff and all that kind of thing. And I come across this thing, which I completely forgot about, and I called it the wheel. And it's not very clear. The image quality isn't very good, and it's just here, but it looks very artificial, right? It looks really artificial. Check this out. Look at that. What looks like a wheel. Okay? Enhanced color, raw color, and negative. Okay? It's pretty unremarkable, but it looks very artificial. I'm not sure if it is a wheel, but it's very wheel shaped, and from this angle looks kind of like a wheel lying down flat with some things on top of it. The image quality of some of these images taken around this time is really bad, because this is not long after a dust storm on Mars, which screws up the images quite badly and makes them really gloomy and dark, and it ruins the actual image quality. You can kind of get around that by enhancing it, but there's no detail. And this is Sol 1727, so it's not far from that wheel, the same stretch of ground. And in fact, this may have been joined to that concrete thing, that big slab in the previous image I just showed you, this thing here. But down here, I spotted this thing, a spike, which I estimate to be between 2 and 3 feet, maybe 3.5 feet tall, right? This is also not a very good quality image, right? So you're not going to see a lot of detail here. So I'll show you with the magnifier anyway. There it is. And it's near this really odd thing here, which looks like a weird piece of wreckage or something, with a sort of curve to it like that, which is really odd. So there's some weird stuff in these, right? In this area. Let's get closer in. I've got the enhanced clip there and a negative. And you can see it's got this weird thing on the end. It's got a spike on the end with something hanging from it, like a head, right? Or something. It's really odd. You can just about make it out, but when you enlarge it and then turn it negative like this, you can see it just there on the end. Absolutely crazy. Years ago, I did find a small post on the ground with a head hanging from it, like nailed to it, like this. But it was a small post and it was only like about 6 inches tall, and the head on it was like a little kind of ape head or something. And it's like really small, only like an inch across or something, like a little skull hanging from it or nailed to it. Just as a comparison, because there's some weird stuff going on here, and that's what kind of made me think years ago that what we're dealing with here is a head cult. Now, whether they were head hunters, maybe they were, some of them, but they're a kind of head cult. They venerate their ancestors, probably keep their heads and skulls, or some of them may have done in the distant past. Some of the earlier Martians in this area, the more primitive earlier tribes may have done that. I don't know, but it's very strange some of the stuff I'm finding. I've shown many spikes in recent years and recent months, but this is long, narrow, and twisted, right? So there was that. And then there was this on a lighter note. Now, this is something I published years ago. And in fact, if you click on the links here, it will take you to my original video, which I think was about 6 or 7 years ago, maybe more. And this was spotted by Terry Burnett, and it's called the Mars Decoy Duck. Now, I posted this on recently, again on Mars Magazine, and people were like going crazy about it for some reason because it's really clear, even though it's a funny looking object. It's very clear. It's just sitting on the sand on this slope at the back of this Gigapan here, on like a ridge, and I would say it's about 5 inches long and a few inches high, and it looks like some kind of decoy duck. So we've got a body, we've got a neck, a lovely curve to the neck, we've got a beak sticking out here, and we have these spiky kind of feather-like things coming out the back. Now, I'm not saying this is an actual duck, I'm saying this is actually a carved duck. Now, why would there be carved ducks in the area? Well, why wouldn't there be? I've shown things like carved birds before, and there is actually one that someone else found a while back, a few years ago, with what looks like a goose next to a pond. What we may have had in this area of Mars, in Gale Crater, is not only buildings but ornamental gardens as well, with things like ponds and water features, that kind of thing. Fountains, maybe. It's pretty crazy, right? I mean, there's statues all over the place, so it would have been a bit like ancient Rome, at least at some point in its history. There would have been statues all over the place, and water features and fountains, huge buildings with columns and all sorts going on, right? So you'd expect to see carved animals as well in that scenario, and that's what we have. Now, whether this was actually made of plastic, who knows? It could be, it might even float for all we know. But I'm guessing it's probably made of actual stone. I don't know. And it may even be attached to something. So there we are, the decoy duck found by Terry Burnett in 2017. That's an old find. But because it got such a large reaction on Mars Magazine, I thought I'd show it again to everybody because Terry found some great stuff. He's no longer with us, unfortunately. He died a year or two ago. The guy was like me, he was searching every day, going through hundreds of images every day. Really good, dedicated researcher. Okay? And this is one of his best finds. And then we have the scary, crazy looking Dragon King statue, which is about 3 foot tall. It may be 4, it may even be 5. The Dragon King looks down onto Dragon Ridge, and on Dragon Ridge, we so far have the calcified animal, we have statues and weird things, and we have things like dragon sculptures and entrances. So there's some really crazy stuff going on there, and some of it's pretty scary looking. But I try not to think too much about how scary looking some of these are, because they can give you they can actually give you nightmares looking at this stuff, and your imagination could run wild with this stuff, right? Because we're looking for the first time at what was possibly a king or something like that, one of the kings of Mars, or at least this part of Mars. So thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.